freaking nightmare this morning. Um, let's go. Let's get into it. So I got the econ data to go over with you. Let's go there. Let's start there. Let's forget the damn. All right, cool. Music still down. All right, so we got a little shit show this morning, guys. Hold on. Music should be stopped, right? On, off. All right, we got the music off. All right, let's go. Here we go. Hold on. Let's flip oh boy, here we go. There it is. All right, let's get into retail sales. 0.5 versus consensus. I don't care about export imports. They're a nightmare. Manufacturing's up, which is good. Export prices, I don't care about. Ex autos, you're in line. Retail sales, you're in line year over year. 3.9 versus 4.4. Industrial capacity utilization and production should be really interesting. So let's go take a look at this. So you're still in line. I don't see a real problem there. So the data is actually the data. Now, 10 o'clock, you get consumer sentiment, and I guess they want me to start walking. But Michigan consumer sentiment, preliminary, that'll be a big deal at 10 o'clock, and we'll see how they view inflation. So we'll go from there. I don't think there was a big move in the market predicated upon this. So more looking at the retail sales side of things and seeing how that's going to go. You know, I think that's the larger issue in my mind, but I tend to, let me go take a look at this. Yeah, that's a pretty solid trade. So a lot of this stuff came down on the AMAT news, and really seems to me that was like, this is way overdone, man, like way overdone. So they took them all down to Lamb, KLAC. So I mean, if you ever were looking at these names, you know, they trade like one brain, but it's kind of stupid. So might take a couple days, but this stuff usually does come back. The other names come back more than the underlying name. So something to think about there. It's definitely appealing to me to look at that stuff. I just have to kind of figure out how to play that. You know, off the open, I'll figure that out as well. But definitely something there. The ETH, I guess BlackRock bought a bunch of this. You know, this thing's like wild to trade. I mean, yesterday was just absolutely insane, but I'd watch this today. I'm not so sure Ethereum's going to hold today. I'm just not so sure on it. You're getting these pretty wild moves, you know, and I'm not really sure what this is supposed to tell me. Why you're telling me that right there, it's kind of interesting. But, you know, these moves are pretty wild. I'd be really very apprehensive of this thing today, you know, especially the way you started to turn. And, you know, you see this, like you're getting that negative divergence. So I could be early with it. And it doesn't mean you're going to fall apart, but I think there's a correction back to this baseline before you go higher. Maybe you form like that cup and handle before you go to the fives. I think that's where this thing's going. What else is of interest out there that we usually don't go over? S&P, you know, that 6,500 is probably going to be really hard. If we take a look at that in regards to the futures market, you know, there's a couple things here that I would just pay attention to where, let me clean it all off and start over. I am getting divergences, and I do have some issues up here. So just, you know, be aware of it. And you've got some up here, and they usually come home to roost in a way that we don't see it. Like you're fine here to negate from here over, but once you come over to here and then drop that sucker down from where you are, you know, I have to pay attention to those, and that's there. So the other thing is, this has just been from August on. If you take a look from that dip, all they've done is buy, and that's not really realistic. So, you know, I don't know what the thing's going to be that gets us down. I don't know if it's going to be Jackson Hole or, you know, what we see that actually drives the market down, but I feel like there's something out there. I feel like there's something coming. that's going to knock us down. I could be wrong. The buys yesterday were pretty interesting, like what guys are buying on the 13Fs. If I'm to look at the market as a whole, there's your 830 level on that number, the PPI that shook the world. I guess we're supposed to pretend it didn't happen. It's really kind of crazy, but there's your open on that bar, and here's your high on this bar. And that's why I always tell people to mark this stuff off, because it's amazing to me how important those levels are. And, this morning you are struggling to break that level where the algorithm said, I will sell everything you have. Well, they sure changed their mind, didn't they, at that level? So you are holding in here. And I definitely think that's something to pay attention to. In regards to everything else, if you looked there and you use the wicks, forget the wicks and just use the body. And you're pretty much riding it. And say it. So like if I use the bodies, starting from that body over into this body, and actually, let's just make sure that's going to be tighter. No, it's right there. So you're actually riding that and holding the bodies. And you've hit that level and you're rejecting it. So I would argue that you're already rejecting it. And then out of that, what are you doing? Well, from here, come on, work with me. From here over, you do have that level that's up here. So you've got a real pickle there at that 6,500. Whether you get through it or not remains to be seen. But you tried earlier today and you're rejecting that trend line. You've broken that trend line here. You're trying to get back through it. So until you do that, I'm not really sure that you want to go goofy here. I think the individual names, and I think a lot of people are going to get out of a lot of this stuff. So, for me, it's more a function of like here, let's just go to this. If I put something like that there, that lets me know where I'm at, but you just might be trapped in here for a little bit. You might actually come down and you are overbought and you work that whole thing off. So, and let's just get to this and see what else we have. I would just be super careful today, man. I don't know if they're going to just clean house and then come back in and start looking at stuff. We've got some secondaries we should go over, but if I clean this off for a second, and I think this is very telling, it does tell you a story. So if you pick the same data point on the market, right? So you pick the same data point on the market, and then you look at how we act on that data point on the various markets. It does tell you like, hey, what are they buying? What are they not buying since that piece of data? Hot PPI, are they buying tech? No, man, you hit that tech, you hit that level, that open, you rejected it here at 355 last night, right? 4 o'clock, sold off, rallied right back to that level at 3 o'clock in the morning, tried to get through it, rejected again. So you have some rejection levels. Now, are you going to bounce through it all? Who knows? But to me, you can see the slope of this and that inability to rally over that level. If you took this high and just see, do we have some kind of trend line there? I mean, you can see you broke that. So not really a whole heck of a lot or value in that. If you went to the next, you're trying to get through that and you're rejecting in here. So I would say that this level and that open is huge, because that's going to get you through this DTL downward trend line. And at the same time, it's also going to get you over this open. So the level for me that I would watch today is this PPI open. Now, you could be waiting for a number. You could be waiting for something like, Michigan consumer sentiment or something along those lines. But to me, this is really, an issue. And I would just be really like super, super careful with it. Give me 1 second here, because I just think you just need to watch that a little bit. be a little aware of what you're dealing with today. It's a little bit of a pickle there. Hold on one second, Boomer. Give me 1 second. So let's go through the secondaries because I think that's what's really important. We can start here. I'm short this any day, man. Any day. I'm ready when you are. Good for you. There we go. So I would just tell you that there's a massive short position that's in this, but you have the lockup over. And I think these people are going to run for the exit doors. And I think that's what you're saying. I'm short this, just FYI. If you had stock that was $1 and then it was 37 and then you couldn't get out at 190 because you were locked up and it's 94 this morning, you're still getting out. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. So let me see something. They just tell me I have stock. I was looking for stock. So I was looking for stock yesterday and they found it. Circle and CoreWeave were the two names I was looking for, and they found a bunch of it. So let's see how much they found. The Circle makes sense because now they have the secondary. We'll go over that in a second, but let's see how much they found. Yeah, they're not giving it out. So that's the one thing I like about Interactive. Like you can go out there. I have up to 100,000 shares I can short on CoreWeave. They'll reserve you shares at Interactive Brokers, which is really like awesome. Let's take a look at this. All right, good. Give me a second. So anyway, if you break this level, man, oh man, you got to work for me, buddy. You're going to have to work today. I don't know what this issue's been lately, but this is so frustrating. So if you break here, you have to take the top. All they did was lure retail in on last night. I was really kind of sad to say. You'd have to take the top of this. And I'm going to tell you why I think this thing's going to break hard. And I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. See how your left shoulder is so weak and your right shoulder is so strong? That usually means that this is going to be way more painful. Whenever the left shoulder is stronger and the right shoulder is weaker, they're not the painful ones for the shorts. Whenever the left shoulder is weak and the right shoulder is strong, these breaks, you get it, right? Left shoulder, I can draw it out real quick. So whenever you see this kind of stuff though, and that happens, you always want to pay attention to this. Not sometimes, but always, because it tells you like, hey, if you break, you have a problem. Like this is like one of those weak trout shoulders that like nobody wants coming at them. So just, versus like your big, like manly shoulder, right? So if you see that, and then you just measure the move on the percentage basis, and you can see that that's 7%, and you want the percentages. So this is telling you today, like for that pattern to be complete, that you'd be looking at 7%, which puts you at like $87, which really wouldn't surprise me at all. Personally, I think the move is because I have a bunch of puts and I'm short stock, but I think the move, and I was actually looking for more to short, is to see, to buy some real deep in the money puts and like really cheap. I think there's a couple names like that make sense. The Circle's super interesting because you have the 130 stock and they're bidding you up. But I didn't hear the words oversubscribed at all for this one. And I would think that you retest that 130. Usually the people that get that secondary, they want to lock something in. But, we'll see. Maybe they don't. Maybe it was oversubscribed and they don't want to talk about it. But I don't think that's the case. It's usually not the case. Names that you crazy kids are going to ask me about. NVIDIA, I don't think there's a darn thing to do here. It's very, very clear what you got going on here. I'll clean it all off and I'll start over. But you have a 185 call wall. I mean, you don't even need me to tell you that, right? Like there's your area. And then you're really just trying to hold that 179.31. I don't know why this is your area, but it's right here. So if we sell off today, like this is my area where I'd want to buy it for it then to kind of see if I can get back to that 184 and see if I get a shot at it. Whether or not I do get a shot at it, I don't know. But that's really where my head is with that. And, kind of go from there. I don't know that there's really anything more for me to say about NVIDIA, except that, this is your range. And from a trading standpoint, you'd have to be a net seller up here and a net buyer down here. Other than that, you're in a range. The one that they really wanted to buy yesterday, and I felt dirty trading it because it's such a pig, but AMD, they really had to be in this. And then they just changed their mind, man. And I got out as fast as I can and then just took a shower. I felt dirty. But, there's like this rumor out there that NVIDIA is worried about AMD's new chip. And they were trying to change Rubin around it. I don't know if there's any validity to that, but if you got some kind of, name like that, that could happen. I mean, there's definitely something to it, but it sure didn't act like that yesterday. And now you're in this, level. So the area that I'd be most interested in AMD is that 179.24. And you got a huge call wall in the market. So I'd be real careful on thinking that you're just going to break out on that. And Tesla's just ruining people's lives like always. Just doing whatever it wants. So I'll clean this off and we can start over. And it's just been a nightmare to trade, really. I'm going to break out. No, we're going to fall apart. We're going to undercut. No, we're going to gap up, and then we're going to fall apart again. Like they're just wrecking people. So whenever I see that kind of stuff, I just stay away from it. And there's not really much that I will add. I know you guys are going to go over it and want to talk about it. So I'll do it. I'm just looking at some names out there and seeing what they're doing. But if I was to look at this, it's super difficult when you look at these names. Pardon me. Let's do it on 5. So the more sleep I get, the worse it gets. Yeah, I mean, you can easily come down here. So there it is. I mean, there's your level. I don't know if you really have something here or not that's worth, paying attention to. Let's take a look at something. You guys always ask me about this one. Let's see if we made this tighter off of there and got rid of the pre and the post. And what does that tell me? Same level. It really takes you to that 330, which is really your net buy area. You held the gap and you went from there, but until that kind of lifts. And this is super troubling. That higher high, and then they just rug pulled everybody. So, yeah, I don't know that I'd be going. I don't know that I'd be getting too into that. I think I'd be super careful. You know what I'm curious about with this, and just give me 1 second to look into this. And I'll take some questions as many as I can. Your call wall's 350. They totally respect that. The put wall's 320, not 330. It's interesting. That's really your big level. If you had to say like what's next, it's definitely that gap right here, which you rejected. And that's really how I say it. Give me 1 second here. The Lamb Research is holding. We can go over UNH. 300 is probably your level. They're going to try and hold you there. Lamb's very interesting trade here. I thought this was interesting that Wolf did not do a secondary and that you're not trading up. RBLX, so they are getting investigated, which is definitely a problem for them. So I shorted this yesterday, and you can see how that's going. I was shocked that this thing didn't drop on the news, because that's one of the theses for this thing being short. So Louisiana's looking into them, and this is what people were looking for. So off the open, and those calls, we had people that bought the puts in the room. They bought the 125s. I think they paid like $1.50 for them. That's going to be like 10-1 off the open. So they'll have that going for them, which is nice. But I think it's in a lot of trouble now, because if you start getting that kind of suit, you have a real problem on your hands. If there's real issue there, if there's like a real problem, 100%. All right. Let's take some questions with the time that we have. Yeah, dude, just email me. Or just email the name. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. So why don't you just email me, or email the name that's on the welcome letter. I really don't even know how that's possible. So the guy checks that email literally every hour. So I wouldn't even know how that's actually happening, to be honest with you. So email right now. Sorry that happened, but I don't know how it would go for 2 weeks. I'm not asking you what you did 4 times. I'm asking you to do it right now. So just forward one of those emails. No, you don't have to call. You have to email. Okay. So I actually think that you're a spam, and I'm going to boot you. So, because there's no way that you've emailed me 4 times and now you want to call me. So just email me. Does anyone know when retail sales get released today? Yeah, 8:30. Oh, totally scam. It's just not possible. I mean, I purposely have someone that not only goes through my email, but I have somebody that now handles all the email. So can you call me? How about no? How about never? Amazon Golden Cross. I saw that. I don't know. I don't know why you would, get involved here until you flip that level. I don't know, man. I don't know how to do that. The core weave, I think, is in a lot of trouble today, like a lot. So I think people are going to see a good old fashioned, just straight sell down. That's what I think you're going to see there. And let me just see something here. Boom, 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 boom. All right, let me just go through this real quick. Give me a second. Yeah, I just wanted to see if this guy actually even emailed me. He never did. I don't have one email from this dude. So weird. Core weave. I don't know, man. I don't know if you're getting the 40. I'd be happy, but I think you're like mid 80s today. I think that is definitely possible. I'm really surprised how this is bidding up. I'm wondering if they're just going to sweep the leg with it. Like 10 million shares that got priced at 130. Nobody's going to want to close that. Like no one. And go from there. And let's just say. One second here. Let's place this real quick. Oh, you know what it is? I know what the issue is. I don't think that this is fake. I think this guy's real. This Proton thing that you guys use to hide your emails, they don't accept the thing. And that's like they won't accept the welcome letter for some reason. Hold on. So no, it wasn't a scam. He was trying to get in. But why haven't I been getting his emails? Why hasn't anyone been getting his emails? It's so weird. But no, it wasn't a scam. Good morning from the Far East. Good morning from Miami. MUFG, Sony. Just looking at this the other day. Like, I was like, I don't know why you're up. What is it, earnings? But you know what's so fascinating to me about this? If I look at MUFG or I look at Santander, right, which is just ripping, or I look at Deutsche Bank, or you look at Barclays. Hold on, let me just find Barclays for a second. I forget what the symbol is. Barclays, right? In what universe do we have a major recession or anything like that where you have every major bank in the world ripping? Like, in what world do we have like this big pullback or recession? Like, you just don't. It just doesn't exist. So I think that's a huge issue. You're cracking 94. Die. It's crazy how you can root for it to go up and then you root for him to die. I'm really surprised this wolf's not up, guys. I'm gonna like this is a real contract, and they didn't do a secondary. I wonder if there's too many names to trade today, and that people aren't getting that trade because that's a real. I closed it because I was afraid of the secondary, but that's a real contract. It's not like that's not like fake tape painting. You know, they'll paint the tape with like some stupid contract. Yeah, that's not a dumb contract. Like, that's on. Like, look at the volume. You don't have anything like this, like ever on the volume scale in this company's history. It's 300 million shares. There's nothing like it out there, like ever. So that's a real freaking contract, man. So I don't know. I'd watch these dips, and I don't think that's done. Not by a long shot, guys. So keep that in mind. It's just where my head is. I'd watch the 580 level, Tam. Sony. Look at the monthly. Now we're going to do monthlies. How about the quarterly? You want to do the quarterly? I'm just screwing with you. Yeah, it looks like a beast, dude. It looks like the mother of all. It looks like the final boss cup and handle, doesn't it? Make sure this guy got in. Did this guy get in? I feel bad. He didn't even sign in. Guys, I'm not going to be able to get through all this today. I can tell you that right now. Amazon, we went over. AVGO looks great. I mean, there's nothing for me to say here about this. That does look great. That does look like final. It does look like final boss. You know, I have such a simple, I'll show you this, Jay. Well, you know this, but like my level here is that 22. Like I'm not selling till it broke that 22, right? So I've been in since 180. We bought in down here, 187. When they came out and said, we're going in the open market and buying 10 billion of our own stock back. And then when it tied in directly with this, I think it was like 187 or something. And I've been using the 22 ever since. Is like, oh, that'll be my stop. And I always use a close under. I don't use the move. It's got to close under. Not everybody wants to do that for obvious reasons, because it could be a bloodbath. Man, I haven't had to worry about that trade once. I remember buying it back here, back in the day. And everyone's like, you're crazy. It's too expensive. Whatever, boomers. Oust. I don't know enough about it. Looks fantastic. I wish you the best with it. But I don't know enough about it. Marina de Monterey. Oh, I thought they only did New York. Oh, that's interesting. I'm already out of it. I bought it yesterday. I did exceptionally well. I sold this morning at I had orders outside and overnight, 307, 310. I think I got 306 this morning, and then that was it. And now the rest is just at break even. But that'll be all over the place. But that's a big deal. That is a really big deal. And I can't stress that enough. That's a huge deal. So, definitely keep that in mind. So it is what it is. Definitely just, make sure of that, but it's an absolute huge deal. And I don't know, man, I'd be real careful with this kind of stuff. I'd be real careful today, guys. I don't trust anything today, at all. I really don't. CRM, you have your issue, and you're going in the earnings, and last earnings weren't great, and the earnings before that weren't great, and apparently they're getting their lunch eaten by them. So I don't know, man. I don't know that I'd go near it. Well, the thing that I think, the reason that the RBLX works so well is it fits the narrative of the shorts. So one of the things about being a short seller is they need the narrative to play out, right? So nobody's just going to file suit. Nobody's just going to file a suit because you want them to. So there's got to be teeth to it. So if they do something like that, it's definitely an issue. And that's certainly something that I see out there that's definitely, on the radar. And definitely an issue. So from my perspective, it's definitely an issue. And I think if you're a short seller, you're emboldened right now. Hey, does this become a thing? Meaning, does somebody else pick it up? Right? Does another state pick it up? Do you get some kind of class? Does it turn into a class action lawsuit? Like, or a class action of a bunch of U.S. attorneys? I don't have the answer to that, but when you do something like this, yeah, that's a real problem. And, you know, you might get the short covering off the open, but you know, that's definitely something that I was surprised it didn't like fall apart. You know, it's crazy lately because you're getting these delayed reactions to stuff, and I'm not really sure why, but if you go and take a look at it, when this was announced, this was it, and it dropped, and then they like blew it off like it was nothing, and it made 0 sense, and it gave the shorts a real opportunity to get in here and make it happen. So I think there's definitely something to it. Let's go there. Zero's a number, dude. So is 300. I'll take either one. I'll take the one that makes me money. What else? Hertz. I'm in Hertz. I'm not doing anything with it. Let me know when Ackman gets out of the trade. Until then, I'm just going to stay with it. I don't really care. I don't even really look at it. PB. No. If I had to think about like the way to play it for me is to buy the puts, honestly, off the open, and then hope that it retests that 130 level, and then I could buy stock against it. What actually might even be the trade on this? You know, Jay, what even might be the trade on this might be, let me just see something while we're talking. Yeah, I mean, the August 22s are $4. I don't know. I'm just leaning towards today's for like 20 cents or whatever I get them for. Because to me, if it pulls back to that level, that's huge. So XYZ, what's up, Sir Zenos? I wouldn't go near it. Anytime I get these kinds of bars, I stay away. But I think you're better off just looking at the day. Coin, Netflix. Coin, there's nothing to do. The 55. Netflix looks like a beast. So I came close to getting stopped out, but I didn't. Still in. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything to do there. That could have been Giselle. Good morning from DC. Yeah, the Peace guy I think is great. Good morning from Miami. I think that this becomes a monster trade for people. I don't know if today's the day, but what you'd want to watch is just like that high, and then if you flip that, maybe you go. If you back in the day, and then you go here, GRR. I don't know, man. I thought this was a really good report. Nobody wanted it, so I blew it out. Yeah, I think I short sell a lot of stuff. Apple, I like it. I'm in at 230, and we'll go from there. So I got to jump, guys. I got to get in. I got to get in there. I got a bunch of stuff to do. Trade to win. Make good choices. Have a great weekend.